This is the Game Changers Experience. Deep dive conversations with leading business disruptors, Olympic athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and influencers from around the world. This show will teach you insights about the winning principles in mindset, productivity, marketing, branding, entrepreneurship, business strategy, and more. Hosted by productivity authority, business strategist, former elite athlete, author, and public speaker, Adam Strong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Game Changers Experience with myself, Adam Strong. And today we have another amazing guest here on the show. Someone that I got like super excited when I had the opportunity to apply for her to come on the show, and someone that is very, very highly respected in our given industry. Her name is Christina Manlekani, and she is the co-founder of Mindvalley. Now, if you don't know who Mindvalley is, I guess you need to go out and go check out what Mindvalley is. But they're an amazing organization. And she's a serial entrepreneur. She's the co-founder of Mindvalley, and she set that business up with her now ex-husband, Vishen. And they set that business up in a New York apartment many, many years ago. And I'm sure that we'll be talking about that as well. She's got multiple books out. So she's got different books out. Author of Live Your Own by Your Own Rules, 7 Days of Happiness, and one that is actually coming out very, very soon. Depending on when you're going to be listening to this, guys. But it's also, she's got a new book coming out called Becoming Flawsome, which is going to be super awesome. Super awesome, super flawsome. How's that? She's one of the top influential people in the world. She's a philanthropist. And what I love about her is that she's got like this, I don't know, she comes across as this really authentic, down-to-earth human being. And that's what I love about guests on here, right? So integrity-led, authentic-based leaders, and that's what I love about this. So what are we going to be talking about, ladies, gentlemen, today? Well, number one, we're going to be talking about happiness more specifically, because I feel like it's one of those things it's one of those topics or subjects which we kind of get a broad understanding of, but in terms of being able to apply that meaning of happiness to our own personal lives, that's going to be a really good conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about, Christina's background and how she ended up being in Belarus and in Estonia. We're going to talk a little bit about that and how that kind of coincides. We're also going to be talking a little bit about signals, and I'll explain what that means a little bit down there. And I like to talk about, as you guys know that listening into the conversation, I like to get deep with my guests, right? I like to do a deep dive with people so that you get the most out of today's conversations and listening and stuff. So if you're listening to this in the car, if you're listening to this in the gym, do yourself a favor, okay? You're going to do yourselves injustice if you don't go back and rewind this and make notes, because I can guarantee you're going to get so much great, amazing conversations. Anyway, enough from me. Christina, welcome to the show.
Adam, thank you so much. Thank you for your wonderful energy. And the bar is high now. So I wonder if I can cover everything in such a short time, but thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm looking forward to today. It's going to be a great thing. So listen, I know that we've got listeners in 52 countries so far around the world. Now, I kind of wanted to set the stage here a little bit, because you're currently based in Tallinn, Estonia, not far from where I am right now. But actually, did you not actually grow in Belarus, near Russia? Is that correct?
So I was born in Soviet Union, broadly speaking, but actually, it was in Belarus. So when I was born, Soviet Union was a big country, and I did live most of my life in Estonia until I got married. But yes, I was born in Belarus. It's a country squeezed between Russia and Europe, and it's one of those gray territories, which is not very well known, but also probably the last proper Soviet country left out there, because I don't think they moved on since the collapse of Soviet Union from that ideology and that kind of lifestyle.
Well, we're not here to talk about politics and war, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to talk about awesome conversations. So I just went to have like full disclosure there anyway. So now I know that you talked a little bit about, because it's interesting, because I've read your story, and you have a really compelling story, and I really I know that some of the people here that are listening in, that most of them don't know what your story is. But I mean, you learn very early on the whole kind of like, because I mean, I've got a couple of friends who's actually from Estonia, and they talk, one particular lady who is based in London now, so she's a really good friend of mine. I've known her for about 8 to 10 years. And she talks about the whole kind of programming of around what women's perceptional reality of what they feel like they should be with what society dictates them to become. But I also know that you have your own spin and story around the whole kind of programming of like people that, when you grew up as well. Could we start with that? Would that be all right?
Yeah, sure. We can start with that. And, I'm very often calling myself an amateur feminist, and it's very interesting because you just mentioned how women are conditioned, and yes, we are conditioned different from men. But I also have to admit that in Soviet Union, it was a very egalitarian society in many ways, despite the fact that it was actually not a very democratic country, but. We as a woman, I wasn't conditioned any different from men, actually, and that's a very interesting thing. But with that said, I think we are all conditioned, certainly men and women. It's just that somehow we talk more about the things that women are conditioned into, like, let's say, perfectionism, right? But men also suffer from perfectionism. It's just that they call it something different. They call it, the race for success, or being ambitious and being super achiever. But in essence, very similar patterns lie in both female and male programming. But with that said, yes, we women get extra pressure. And part of the reason is because a lot of the times there is a conflict in our social roles. So just without going too deep into the feminist topic, but this world is built by men, obviously, and there are a lot of social roles which are highly valued by society, be it a successful person, entrepreneur, rich people. A lot of those things are highly valued by society versus, for example, caregiver, a nurse, a mother, right? So naturally, we are tempted to go to perform the roles which are more socially in social hierarchy higher. Now, when it comes to females, whether we like it or not, but there are stereotypical traits in every social role that you play. So, for example, if you are presenting yourself as a professional, usually we assume that professionals have to be, in a way, serious, masters of their craft, decided, confident. Now, if we take leadership, whether it's business leadership or political leadership, we also have a certain set of stereotypical qualities which we consider to be qualities of a good leader. And usually it's also determination, being focused on the goal, to the point being so goal-oriented that you actually leave, let's say, emotions aside. Now, when you take a woman, the stereotypical qualities of a woman are nurturing, caring of the environment, caring of everybody's feelings. So very often when a woman has to step into a role of a leader, because these two stereotypical pictures are in contradiction, women get much more criticism compared to men, because society, when they see a woman leader, society tends to criticize women on being bad women rather than on evaluating them as a good leader. Of course, the question is not that we should change the woman in any way, but I think we should change how we, what kind of qualities we attribute to, let's say, a good leader, a good professional, a master of their own craft. And maybe we should, take a step back and actually look at that with a clean slate, so that we are not we're not influenced by the stereotypes of the thousands of years of human history. But I don't want to go deep into this conversation because it's a very serious and complex talk.
It is. It's a deep topic. So maybe if we have a bit more time, at another time of
Yes.
I'm sure we'll talk about these things and whatever it is. Let's get into some of the nitty gritty stuff, if I may, because I know that we've all got our own stories, right, Christina? And we've all got, and so you have a very compelling story. Being sort of living in the former Soviet Union and stuff, but there was also a kind of what I call an epiphany, if you like. You had an epiphany, and you had many epiphanies in your life, but I know that there was one particular epiphany, especially when you set up things like Mind Valley and stuff like that. And I know that when you started to question, especially when you were married and you were a mother and you had your kids and stuff like that, and you started to question your life a bit more, what was going through your mind? Like, what was your inner critic saying to you? And how did it make you feel?
I guess I get epiphanies quite often, and that's probably just the nature of life. You go through it, and then you discover new things, and then you understand certain things about yourself, about the world. So I would say that I've had, I keep still having realizations. Are they quite epiphanies? I'm not sure. Some of the most remarkable moments probably were, and forgive me for sounding maybe a little bit too woo, but I guess the moment of awakening is always the memorable one, and that's when you suddenly realize that you can change things, or you suddenly realize when your course changes 180 degrees, not just a little adjustment. Now, by the time I believe that what you're talking about is the moment in the 40s when I had built my perfect life and suddenly realized I wasn't completely happy in that perfect life. That definitely was like epiphany number a gajillion. but it definitely was an important one because, and I think a very relatable one, because I have been a perfectionist all my life and an ambitious, striving person. The Soviet past that you have mentioned a few times has definitely added to that, because in Soviet Union, the idea was that the greater good, the good of the whole society, is above any individual well-being. So I was brought up with a very strong martyrdom complex. So, building life according to the rules of society is something that we all know. And maybe in the case of a woman, it's one set of decorations. In the case of a man, it's a different set of decorations. But the point is that from a very early age, we take decisions in our life which we assume are going to take us to success. And whenever we have a choice between taking a decision towards success versus towards your own well-being, we naturally pick success because success is, as we were talking about, a successful person is socially a much more valuable social role than a happy person, for that matter. So, and at some point, we suddenly realize that success actually doesn't make you feel good, which is an interesting turning point, because a lot of us would say, but feeling good is not the point at all. I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to have great goals or meaningful life, make a contribution. Feeling good is not in the picture, or being happy is not in the picture. So I was about 40 when I had built my perfect life by the book, and realized that I wasn't happy as I was supposed to be. And that was half the problem. The real problem was that I was feeling really horrible for not feeling happy in my perfectly successful Instagrammable life. So it's that interesting dead end where you go all your life, you strive for your goals, you go for the things that you think are important, and you think that you have chosen for yourself, and probably you have. In fact, I don't want to roll that responsibility on society. And then once you hit it, you suddenly realize that this is not how you imagined you would feel. And not only that, but I felt guilty and ashamed. How dare you? And that was the worst part. That was the thing that was the hardest to cope with. And that started me on a slightly different journey from what it was before, and made me ask a lot of questions, and ultimately led to the understanding that you can't shame yourself out of being yourself. You have to, we live with that idea that you have to be the best possible version of yourself. And I agree with that. What I don't agree with is that we almost hate that other version, which is not the best version. We shame ourselves for being anything but the best version of ourselves. And that's not a viable scenario.
So let me get this right. So you had this ideology of creating the perfect life, which you achieved in your 40s, right? And then would you say that you had a midlife crisis?
Oh, definitely. According to WHO, I only hit midlife when I hit 44. I think I'm still surviving it. I mean, there are two different aspects. There is your relationship with yourself, and then there's your relationship with something much bigger than you. And this relationship I'm still discovering. And my relationship with that entity which we call time is still very unclear. It's too big for me. So I think I'm still suffering from midlife crisis.
Oh my gosh, and it's been a while as well. So, but listen, that's I love that. That's great. When you started to now, I wanted to ask you a quick question, because this is really important for me, because even though we're similar ages, right? I'm in my 40s now, and I haven't hit a midlife crisis. Well, I hit my midlife crisis at the age of 11, so it wasn't a midlife crisis; it was kind of a teenage crisis. But anyway, so when you started to when we talk about success and you talk about creating the perfect life, and then you started to get these, what I call I'm going to call them signals. So signals, do you know what I mean? Like this, you talk about awakening. From your perspective, what were the signals to you? Like, what were the kind of like red flags? It's like, oh no. Do you know what I mean? What were they to you?
Transformation is not such a simple process as to write it down to a certain experience. And actually, that maybe is a continuation to the idea of the midlife crisis. I believe that concept is probably also something that requires a little bit of reevaluation, because I actually have never researched it, but I believe it's a term which we've inherited from at least the middle of the 20th century. And people have learned to live longer, will live a very different lifestyle. So I believe we'll go through series of crises throughout life. So in my case, there have been series of situations where there have been red flags. So if we refer to the recent one, which was in my 40s, then the biggest red flag was feeling bad about being bad. We want to be good, and when we feel that we can't live up to that incredibly tough bar, no matter how well we do, no matter how well we show ourselves, this whole concept of fake it till you make it, it doesn't matter how well you do it. Sometimes you get so exhausted from just trying too hard to be something which you feel deep inside is not even you. And that, that wanting to be something else, trying super hard, being tired, as I said, was that I was beating myself up for feeling horrible about being horrible. And that is, the secondary stress is the worst thing for us. They say that, stress is not as bad for you as a lot of people are used to thinking. And I don't want to go into this research, but secondary stress is the thing that ruins us, that breaks us. So imagine it like this. If you wake up in the middle of the night because you have insomnia in itself is not as bad for you as you feeling anxious about having insomnia. So that's what we do in our life. The fact that we are stressed is just like, it's okay. It happens. We get stressed. What is horrible is when you start beating yourself up. Why can't I get out of that? What's wrong with me? Like, why everybody's doing, okay, forget everybody. It doesn't even matter about everybody. I have been in this industry for I've learned so much. I've done so well. I've done such great things. Why am I upset about such a little thing? Why am I not what I'm supposed to be? That's way worse than not being what you think you're supposed to be.
There's one thing that I picked up in our small time together is that you come across as a very curious person.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, in a way, it's some people would kind of call it curious. Other people might call it as you're a bit of a rebel, in a good way, of course. But but we need those types of people in to kind of like question the status quo. Do you know what I mean? Because if you don't start questioning life and you don't start questioning, then how does one grow and learn? You can by not questioning, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and I'm really glad you picked the word curious, although I do subscribe to being a rebel as well, of course. But I like that. I mean, I survived the breakup of Soviet Union. Of course, I have to be a rebel.
You do.
Like, those who were not didn't survive very well. But jokes aside, curiosity is a very underrated quality in personal growth and transformation. I believe that if you replace judgment with curiosity, your journey is going to be so much more profound, enjoyable, and actually productive. The problem with us is that we are judgmental rather than curious. And when you try to judge yourself, it becomes scary, because the moment you judge yourself, you feel that, okay, now if I fail, that's going to be a disaster. When you're curious, you remove that fear of failure. You go into things with a question. I wonder if I try something new. I wonder if I changed my point of view. I wonder if I was wrong. If you keep wondering rather than judging yourself, you are going to open the doors to true transformation. And I think this is such an underrated quality that I'm really grateful for you to just picking it like this. Curiosity. I mean, if I were to suggest one little change in your life, replace judgment with curiosity. It's going to make wonders.
You know what? That's a great takeaway, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's a really good point there. And maybe Christina is going to bring out 2 more books: How to Overcome Your Midlife Crisis and How to Become More Curious. How does that sound, ladies and gents?
I don't like writing. I don't like writing books on request, but these are very good topics.
They're very good topics. If you're curious, then, please check Christina out, ladies and gents. Anyway, that's very cool. Listen, I know that we're coming towards the end of our interview, but let's talk a bit about your new book coming out, because I know you've got previous books, but this one's kind of interesting. Becoming Flawsome. Tell us a little bit. What's the premise behind the book, and why should people read it?
So, well, I have to explain that this is the first book, which is book. Before that, I am a writer. Of course, I've written a lot of stuff, but I've created programs. So, but with that said, I really love literature and classic literature. My background is an actual background. It's not a picture. But so this book is a journey, and that's such an interesting thing, because you asked why should people pick it up? I believe it's going to be a trailblazer, hopefully, because as you said, I rebel against convention, but it's not a very serious answer, of course, because people nowadays, we all compete for attention, and I know that asking someone to read your book is a huge ask, because you would spend 3 days with me at least if you read in one sitting. Why? Because this is a book which is a guide to you back to your true self. Hopefully. Of course, are you going to find yourself or not depends on your own intention and on your own dedication to that process. But I wrote the book because I felt that we contemporary humans, are craving a permission to just be and revel in our flawsomeness, in our imperfections, and to actually discover how much more I can achieve, I can do, I can even leave a mark in this world if I just stop trying so hard to be something that I'm not. So I just feel that a lot of people have this pain, even if they numb it by being busy, by being so many other things. It is the pain that is in the contemporary society. And I just felt like sharing sharing this journey with people, but it is a journey. I'm very reluctant to share what is in it. I usually like to say, if you were to pick up the Lord of the Rings, would you like to know that the Fellowship is going to break up? And I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I've given a spoiler to someone who hasn't read Lord of the Rings. So I don't give spoilers about my book, but it is a journey back to you.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, listen, I know that we've come towards the end of our time, and it's been a jam, just kind of like hanging out with you and having some great conversations. So I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm amazed how quickly you managed to get to all the important points in such a short time. So thank you for that.
Well, I like to get through these important things. It's important for my audience to get this, right? It really is. But for you guys that are listening, I hope that you've enjoyed our brief conversation with me and Christina. If you have enjoyed our conversations, or if you have related or anything resonates with our conversations, do me a favor, follow her over on social media. We'll put all the links below. And also check out her new book, Becoming Flawsome, which is going to be out from June 23, depending on when you're listening to this, of course, in all the major bookstores out there and stuff. So from me and Christina, hope you're well. Hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and hope you have an amazing day, week, month, whenever you listen to this. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
Thank you so much.